as to why. It goes back to a social psychologist named Leon Festinger. Now, I do mention this on the channel quite a bit. I have a degree in social psychology, which is where my interest in human behavior started, and I acquired a lot of the basis of what I do today. And this man's work is, first of all, it's very much studied because Leon Festinger is the one who popularized cognitive dissonance, which we hear a lot about. There's a lot of articles online, and it's one of those popular psychology terms. But he also did this other really interesting thing where in the 50s, there was a cult led by a woman called Marion Keech. And she had predicted that the end of the world was coming on December 21st of that year. That was her prophecy. And anyone would intuitively look at that and go, all right, we'll just let them be. The date's going to come, the date's going to go, the world's still going to be here, and they're all going to go, okay, well, she's wrong, and they're just going to leave. The cult is going to fall apart. Well, Leon Festinger had a different theory. He thought, for whatever reason, that the cult's bonds would increase after the failed prediction. And as it turns out, he was right. He actually infiltrated the cult and he surveyed members to gauge how loyal they are to the cult. And after that prediction date came and passed and nothing happened, their loyalty dramatically increased. And it's with this that he found that when we share failure, sometimes, in fact, often, it makes us commit even more to our standpoint out of fear of social embarrassment. Because if we admit we were wrong, it's really embarrassing all that time. And because there's nothing else to stand on and all we have is our faith, we increase that faith. We double, triple down on that faith because that's all we have left. And this is how a lot of people get radicalized in their beliefs. This also really closely relates to something called the sunk cost fallacy, which is a psychological principle that we often use to explain certain business situations or relationships. And basically what it means is when we've invested a lot of time and emotion into something, it's much harder for us to turn our back on it because our brain doesn't like to admit that it wasted resources, so it sort of makes up value where value doesn't really exist. So for example, you might know someone who has been in a relationship for a very long time with someone or romantically pursuing someone who is just not a great catch. They don't really treat them right. They don't have much of a personality, just all around not a great catch. And you might ask them like, why are you with this person or why are you running after this person? And they say things like, well, he's got a great sense of humor and I feel like there's this connection there that I can't really explain. And they sort of see value in things that aren't actually that valuable or that tangible only because they've invested that much time into this situation. And again, their brain doesn't want to admit that it was a complete waste and that there's nothing there. Finally, the third factor that plays into this is that there's a ton of research done on the fact that if we go through challenges or hardships to be part of something, it really increases the loyalty we have to that thing. And we see this a lot in society. We see it in like hazing ceremonies in fraternities or sororities where you get embarrassed or shamed or you do these big challenges to be part of a group. We see it in tribal rituals where they have all these different rituals and they eventually become part of the tribe officially. And all these things exist because those hardships that we went through, our brain backwards justifies and says, you did all that because there's value here. And it once again sees more value in that belonging. So we know that failure increases loyalty. We have the sunk cost fallacy, which is invested time makes us more invested. Then we have the principle of knowing that when you go through hardships with someone, it creates tighter bonds.